thinking about tax efficient intergenerational planning, you naturally, well, I do, gravitate towards, that means reducing or avoiding, legitimately of course, inheritance tax. But it's a lot more than that. Being successful in your quest for intergenerational well-being, as it were, for the rest of your family, you're going to get that outcome you're seeking by having an efficient, tax-efficient accumulation, wealth accumulation, a tax-efficient decumulation, and then, of course, a final tax-efficient wealth transfer. So paying attention and doing the work in those earlier periods, the accumulation and decumulation periods, is really, really important. They are incredibly important. I know I'm stating the obvious contributors towards that final enhancement of the wealth transfer, because the more you've got, the more you are able to transfer. And the more you've got is definitely helped by tax efficient accumulation. You don't need me to remind you of all the tax efficient ways you can save and invest to minimize the tax outflow during the accumulation period. And specifically, if we're looking at doing things through lifetime transfers for the next generation, i.e. transferring the wealth early, then there are, of course, some specific ways in which you can make those transfers that have tax efficiency very much attached to them. The junior ISA, for example, saving up through appropriate products inside trust, for example, starting early savings, getting the power of compounding going through pension arrangements with incredible tax efficiencies at the front end along the way, and of course when the benefits are taken out. And then when you get to that later stage in life of thinking of drawing down on some of your money, that will of course diminish the wealth that's eventually going to be transferred. But if you can do that tax efficiently, it will mean you preserve more of the wealth that does stay around and is eventually going to be transferred. So minimizing the tax on what you take out from your wealth pot and preserving the value of that wealth pot from the attrition of taxation will definitely help. And that leads us to conclude, and I've said this many times before, that at least you should start with thinking about not drawing down from your pension if you can possibly avoid it, and taking money from less tax efficient places. Because many of your clients, I'm sure, will have a range of places from which to take money when the time comes to take it, and it won't just be a pension. And even if it is just a pension, there's a lot of planning you can do around that to ensure that you maximize the amount that you take without too harshly diminishing what's left. And then, of course, when you come to that final point of wealth transfer, that's where inheritance tax becomes incredibly important, because the lower you can make that IHT bill, the better it will be. And of course, making transfers during lifetime when it's right for you, when you can retain the right amount of access and control over what's left. All really, really important. But minimizing inheritance tax at that final point is so, so important. And I know it's an area that a lot of you will spend time on. It's an area that many clients are extremely interested in. And it's an area which the latest YouGov survey, which admittedly was in 2015, but that was the latest one that addressed this particular point. It did show that inheritance tax was the most hated tax. So there will be interest in ways of minimizing inheritance tax in order to maximize the transfer to the next generation, who will then, of course, be much more grateful to you and think better of you as being a great planner. Sorry if that sounded a bit patronizing, for minimizing the tax that they have to pay on their inheritance tax. And then you have that continuation of the thread of sort of client from the person that has left the money to the person that receives it. And also, do not forget the power of ordinary life insurance in trust to create an inheritance or enhance an inheritance for that next generation. Lots and lots of this covered in lots and lots more detail in Techlink.